Breaking news, Tennessee Titans fans! Tonight, the wait is finally over. The Titans take the field for their very first preseason showdown against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And yes, you're going to see Cam Ward in action. Most of the starters will be on the field in some capacity, and excitement is through the roof. But before we dive into the latest news, subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and don't forget to press the bell icon so you never miss an update. Let's move on to the new news. Now here's where it gets interesting. Last night, something happened that has Titans fans buzzing, and honestly, it's got the whole NFL talking. Shedeur Sanders lit it up for the Cleveland Browns, playing an entire half of football, throwing a couple of touchdowns, and making some impressive plays. That performance immediately fueled the media machine, and once again, the comparisons began. For Titans fans, this is a familiar frustration. Cam Ward has been treated like an afterthought by national media, while Shedeur gets painted as the league's next big thing. And I get it, the hype is strong, but my frustration goes back to one moment, draft night. When Cam Ward's name was called, his big moment was overshadowed, completely trampled, because ESPN couldn't stop talking about Shedeur Sanders long enough to give Cam his due respect. That's where it all started for me. I'm still not over it. The way that moment was handled for Cam Ward was downright disrespectful, and what's worse, not a single person has stepped up to take responsibility. Not Mel Kiper, not Booger McFarland, not anyone on that broadcast. And let's be clear, my issue has never been with Shedeur Sanders himself. It's with the national media so fixated on him that they trampled right over the number one pick spotlight. I wouldn't have even been against the Titans drafting Shedeur if that had been the choice. But to ignore Cam Ward in his defining moment, to talk over it, and even roll Shedeur's highlights while it was happening, that's what still burns. Now, I'll give credit where it's due. Last night, Shedeur played a solid half of football. Around 140 yards, a couple of touchdowns, no picks, and some nice runs. But here's the part that blows my mind. In 25 years of watching football, I have never, and I mean never, seen this kind of overreaction to a preseason performance. Social media is acting like we just witnessed the debut of Joe Montana, Tom Brady, and Dan Marino rolled into one. It's a full-on parade over a half of preseason football. Let's be real here, we're talking about one half of a preseason game. I'm not saying it didn't happen, and I'm not saying Browns fans or Shedeur Sanders fans shouldn't be thrilled. It was a good moment for him, and I genuinely hope he does well in Cleveland. Honestly, looking at their QB room, he might even deserve that starting job. But this reaction, this is on another level. I've never seen the sports world erupt like this over a preseason half. And it's not even about Shedeur, it's about a media machine so desperate to prove themselves right about him that they're acting like Cleveland just hoisted the Lombardi Trophy because a quarterback threw for 140 yards and 2 touchdowns in August. And here's what makes it even crazier, they weren't exactly facing the NFL's elite. It's preseason football. You're not lining up against the best 11 on the other side. Plus, let's not forget, Bryce Young had himself a pretty solid night for Carolina in that same game. But you wouldn't know it because every camera, every headline, every conversation was locked on one guy. Look, I'm not here to take anything away from Shedeur Sanders. He went out there, played well, and delivered a solid half of football. That's a fact, but the reaction that's followed, it feels overcooked. Forced, like the media was sitting on the edge of their seats, waiting for even the smallest flash of success so they could pounce and shout, "See? We told you!" And that's the heart of the problem. This has never been about Shedeur as a player or a person. It's about a sports media so obsessed with their own narrative that they've completely lost sight of balance. Praise him all you want, fine, but don't do it while pretending the number one overall pick doesn't exist. Don't push wall-to-wall coverage of one quarterback while giving Cam Ward, the guy who actually went first in the draft, barely a passing mention. Then they turn around and ask, is this the most ignored number one pick in NFL history? Well, yeah. And whose fault is that? Yours. You're asking the very question that you should be answering. You created that vacuum. You're the one starving the conversation about him. And every time you act shocked about it, you're basically telling on yourselves. So yes, Shedeur played well last night, and I'm glad for him. But the media reaction has been completely out of proportion, like they're covering a Super Bowl win instead of a preseason game. It's exhausting. They need to take a breath, recalibrate, and maybe talk about all the quarterbacks who played, not just the one they've been building up since before draft night. And now, my eyes turn to tonight, Titans versus Buccaneers. This is where it gets real for Cam Ward. I've said before, I worry about him not because of his talent, but because of the pressure, the narratives, and the constant shadow being cast over him before he's even taken a regular season snap. Tonight's his chance to start changing that conversation. I'm not losing sleep over what's happening with other teams' quarterbacks. My focus is on our guy, on seeing Cam Ward succeed. Now, I don't know exactly how much we'll see of him tonight. Could be a single possession, could be two, maybe a quarter. However long it is, what matters to me is simple. I want to see him step onto that field with poise, confidence, and control. I'm not expecting a fireworks show. I'm not looking for the most jaw-dropping highlight of the preseason. What I am looking for is a young quarterback settling into the speed of the NFL, taking what the defense gives him, and building trust with his teammates. That first taste of real game action, no matter how brief, is a valuable step in his development. And no, I'm not going to play the comparison game. I'm not sitting there thinking he has to outdo Shedeur, or he has to match what some other rookie did. That's not the point, especially in August. This is preseason. It's not meant to be overanalyzed like a playoff game. 2 months from now, nobody's going to be talking about a half of football in early August. No one's going to suddenly say, remember when Shedeur lit up Carolina in the preseason? That moment will fade just like all the others before it. So let's take a breath. Titans fans, let's watch our quarterback get his first taste of NFL action, enjoy the moment, and remember this is just the start of a much bigger story. Tighten up. See you tonight.